Welcome to Thoughts Off the Stem. I'm Justin Barone, and have you been curious about CBD and why you might want to start taking that instead of certain medications? Now, granted, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to take and what not to take, but I can help you understand why CBD might be good for you. This is not medical advice. This is strictly a cannabis professional explaining to you why CBD might help with some of the ailments that you have. I've noticed an influx of the older generation, people 50 and older, looking for better avenues to relieve some of the pain, inflammation, and soreness that they feel later on in life. Like, I'm 43 years old, and I know that after I work out, it takes me a little bit longer to recover. So I use CBD as primarily a recovery situation. However, there are certain days where I'll wake up and my joints hurt and things crack and my muscles hurt, and I don't know why, because I haven't necessarily done anything that would promote muscle pain. And in those days, I'll take some CBD. Now, there's multitude of different forms that you could take CBD. CBD is not psychoactive, so you don't have to worry about getting high or having your state of mind altered, okay? Because I know that when I worked at the pot shop, there were a lot of older people that would come in that still had this like stigma around anything to do with cannabis. So whether it was CBD, whether it was CBN, whether it was THC, they figured that no matter what, it was a bad thing to try and it could potentially hurt you. Okay. Recently, I'd say within the last couple years, doctors have started pointing some of their patients to the pot shop to help find daily relief from some of the ailments that they face on a ongoing basis. Because realistically, the way I look at it is, why would you want to give somebody a pill or a drug that is tougher on their liver, that does it, that like can cause so many other side effects? Like, have you ever have you ever watched American TV? Because I have. And almost every single ad, maybe not all the ads, but there's a lot of like pharmaceutical ads, things that will help you lose weight, things that will help you with pain, things that will help you with like what's it called? Acid reflux, all these different things. But they come with like a laundry list of side effects that are not very good. Like, a lot of them make the condition, can potentially make the condition worse. Some of them can end up leading to death. Like, that doesn't seem like a good idea to prescribe those things to me. So I think that at least in Canada, because cannabis is legal for recreational and whatever use, really, I think a lot of doctors have started to recognize the benefits of taking CBD, CBN, and CBC, really, to help people with these issues, as opposed to giving them these hard drugs that will lead to potential side effects, or you can only have them in like certain increments. So like, you can take a certain drug for a certain amount of time, then you have to stop because it may cause problems, like it may make your liver bleed, who knows, you know? So I think that a lot of doctors have started directing some of their older patients to the pot shop in a way to in an effort to find some kind of help to make those ailments more manageable. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to use CBD. There's a multitude of different ways that you can ingest CBD. You can smoke it like I am here. I like this Metapharm CBD vape pen. It's literally a disposable. It's only CBD oil, so there's no THC in it, so there's no psychoactive effect. I'm not going to lose my I'm not going to lose my mind and go crazy after taking like 42 hits of this, you know. I'm going to just kind of be calm and relaxed. And some of that joint pain, like I said, like if I work out, I'll take an oil as opposed to something to smoke after I work out, just because I feel like the oil maybe gets to, how do I explain it? So the oil, I think, because you're ingesting it, it actually gets to the problem areas, like if you have like knee pain or shoulder pain or back pain, or stiffness, I find that an oil actually helps better with that, right? Smoking this in a vape, I think, is more like constant maintain through the day, where you just kind of feel relaxed, you feel good about everything, nothing really bothers you. You kind of keep all the negative energy in perspective, right? You can also take it in a gummy form. You could take it in a gel cap. Gel cap would be very similar to just doing a like an oil in a dropper. So if you're one of those people and you're wondering or you're curious about trying some CBD as opposed to continuously taking this like pharmacy of pills that you may have to take every day, one of the things that you should know, because I've also noticed, and through discussions with people and through the education of these different cannabinoids with a customer, I've noticed that a lot of people don't know at that age, like 50 and older, they don't necessarily know what they're looking for, and they rely on bud tenders to help them pick the right product for whatever it is to help whatever it is that they're looking to alleviate, right? So in my opinion, as a bud tender, you have to be very well educated on all the different options, because the older the customer, the more of a stigma towards smoking it there will be. They don't want to do that. They kind of look at that as like, well, now you're going to become this, pothead that's lazy and doesn't do anything, and they're really worried about being stuck on the couch. That's not necessarily going to happen, especially if you just stick to CBD. So one of the things that I really wanted to do with this sesh, I guess, is to help those of you that are looking to try something like this, but you don't know where to start. So I'm going to give you a couple tips, I guess, to help you before you go to the pot shop. So that way you're more educated and you can ask the right questions to your bud tender or the person helping you at the store. So a couple things to know first. CBD is non-psychoactive. You're not going to get high. It's not going to change your frame of mind. You're not going to get that giggly, low eyelid looking stoner face, okay? Basically, CBD is like taking amped up ibuprofen, okay? A lot of the times when you take CBD on its own, you won't necessarily notice anything right away, okay? You have to continually use it. So what I mean there is that you need to use CBD for more than one attempt. Like, you can't take it like you take Tylenol, where if you take a couple Tylenol and you have a headache, 30 minutes later that headache dissipates. CBD doesn't totally work that way. You may find a little bit of you may find a little bit of relief from that within 20 to 30 minutes, but in order to maintain that relief, because a lot of the times you're not dealing with headaches, you're dealing with ongoing issues like joint pain, arthritis, muscle soreness, inflammation in the body. So to help you with that, you need to use it on a consistent basis. So it'll take you roughly 3 to 5 days to really notice a huge difference in how you feel. So don't expect to go in there, get a bottle of CBD oil, and then after you take it the first time, you're good. That's not going to happen. You might feel a little bit less agitated by whatever the condition is, but you're not going to find complete relief with that one dosage. The other thing to know is that a lot of these, if you're taking an oil, there's a dropper. That dropper, the whole thing, is considered one drop. Okay, it's not a drop from the dropper, like one drop from that liquid. The whole thing is considered a drop because it's only 1 milligram. That's how in Canada they divvy out the portions. Each dropper is 1 milligram. 1 milligram might work for you. For somebody that is maybe like a bigger person, there's a lot of mitigating factors in terms of what will help. So you kind of have to like go low and slow, as they say, and you have to try different dosages to see how it feels. And then once you dial in that dosage, then that's what you want to take, because that's what's really going to help you over time. I always recommend that, because each of these things comes in a different increment of CBD, I always say start with a lower, cheaper version first to see if it's going to help you, because it doesn't necessarily always help everybody. Sometimes people need not just CBD, they need more than that, okay? And always consult your doctor first. I'm talking to the people whose doctor have said go into the pot shop and talk to them there and see what kind of products they have that could potentially help you with your issues. So one of the things to take into account is buy a cheaper version of okay, there's a couple things with this. So as to try it out, if you're new to it, buy something that's a little bit cheaper. Like in Canada, Redicon is established, but it's a more affordable version of a CBD oil. So those are worth trying. There's a lot of people that swear by those, even though they're on the lower end of the price scale. They're also, I think, in my opinion, they're also lower on the quality scale, but they're a good introduction. So try Redicon, either soft gels, CBDs, or what do they call them? Raindrops, which are the oil droppers. So try those first, because they give you about 30 milligrams of THC. If you find that works, then great. Then you know that your dosage is about 30 milligrams. Maintain the use of that for at least a week or two to make sure to see how it actually affects you. And then after that, if you find that it's losing its effectiveness, because keep in mind, you can also become accustomed to this stuff. Just like you build a tolerance to booze, you can build a tolerance to THC, CBD, any of the cannabinoids, really. So keep in mind that if you start to get more tolerant, you may want to jump up. I always recommend to people to go for at least like 50 milligrams of CBD first, because I find that anybody I've recommended that to, that's a good sweet spot, because you can mitigate the amount that you get by taking less. So instead of taking the full dropper, you take like half a dropper, wait 30 minutes, see how that plays out. Within that 30 minutes, you should feel a calm. You don't always, and if you don't, that's when you want to take the other half of the dropper or another drop, depending on how much you've had. So I always recommend people start at about that 50 milligram level. So Metapharm's a good one for that, because they make CBD 50, I think it is, which is 50 milligrams. It's a good dosage. You could put it right under your tongue, sublingually. That's probably the best way to go, because you hold it in there for 60 seconds, then you swallow. But the membrane in your mouth actually absorbs that CBD directly a little bit better. So that's probably the better way to go. You can also drop it in your coffee. You could drop it in your water. It won't affect the potency of it. It'll still be effective. So you could drink it that way if you don't like the flavor, because the flavor is pretty cannabisy. Cannabisy. Tastes a lot like weed. Okay. If you don't want to smoke it, that's a good way to go. You can also try gummies. If you have a problem with the flavor, you can get gummies that have anywhere from 2 milligrams of CBD or 5 milligrams of CBD all the way up to like 600 milligrams of CBD. Now, again, that sounds scary, but it's not, because CBD doesn't act the same way THC does. You're not going to green out. You're not going to freak out. You're not going to lose your mind, okay? You're just going to become more and more and more relaxed. But you'll have all your faculties. You can drive on it. You can still function in the day. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people use CBD for a multitude of things, like I said, joint pain, muscle pain, inflammation, arthritis, recovery from working out, highly physical days. A lot of people use it as a quit smoking aid, because it does actually help. It does actually help you be okay with certain things. Like it cuts through anxiety, like like a hot knife through butter. Okay. CBD is very versatile, whereas THC is more for like the fun time, happy time. Now, I also recommend that if you're trying to deal with like inflammation and joint pain, but you also have muscle pain, if you've got muscle pain, you don't necessarily need to go with like an inhalant or an ingestible. Sometimes it's really good to just use a topical, because then you can put THC and CBD together. And if you're taking THC and a topical, this is another question I got a lot was, well, if there's THC in it, I'm going to get high. No, you won't, okay? Because in a topical, THC is the thing that deals with whatever the pain is. It doesn't, for you to get high off THC, you have to ingest it. It has to cross the blood-brain barrier. With a topical, I'm not exactly sure why, you'd have to look it up, but it doesn't cross that blood-brain barrier, so you don't get the psychoactive effect from it. You only get the the pain relief from it. I'll give you a good example. Actually, I'll give you two, okay? So I had messed up my neck one day. I don't know how I did it, but my neck was messed. I couldn't even turn to the left. Like I was doing that whole stiff turn where like your whole body has to turn at the same time. And so I had this stuff called Live Relief. It was 250 milligrams of THC and it was 250 milligrams of CBD. So balanced is what they call it. You don't need a lot. And it's a similar cream to like, what's it called? Icy hot or deep cold or whatever, deep ice, deep, whatever that muscle one is that Shaq promotes, you know? It's very similar to that. So I took some of that and I put it all along my neck. The amount that I took, I don't have any, but the amount that I took was just a small little quarter-sized drop, I guess, on the palm of my hand. And I rubbed it in my fingertips and then I rubbed it all along the side of my neck. Within 20 minutes, I wasn't 100%. You couldn't just, like a bobblehead, you couldn't just move your head around like that again. But what it did do was it alleviated it enough that if I turned my head, then there wasn't that like sharp pain of like, oh, don't do that. You know what I mean? So it was a really effective way to find pretty quick relief, and there was no high to it, because your high, or I mean your brain, the THC isn't breaking that barrier, so you're not getting that you're not getting the cerebral effect to it. You're just getting a calming effect. If you ingest like a smokable, like if you were taking this Metapharm CBD pen and it was 50% CBD and 50% THC, then yes, you would get that, you know, high effect. That high effect though makes you kind of feel like you're wading through water. It's actually a very nice relaxing high, but I don't recommend doing it if that's not what you're looking for. If you're just looking for CBD, CBD can help you in a multitude of ways and give you relief on a daily basis without really without all the harshness and the extras that come with some of these, you know, newer pills and things. The other example I wanted to give you, because this is probably the best example that I have. So I had a customer come in. He was an older gentleman. He was about 50. And he came into the shop, and this guy couldn't even walk. Like, he was walking, but he was doing the whole, like, grabbing a wall and moving a little bit, and then he'd have to go to, like, a table and move in a little bit till finally he got to the counter. This guy was sort of, like, hunched over. I've been there. I messed up my back once. He was hunched over. It was really tough for him to be mobile. He was a construction worker, so he had said for the last, like, I think he said 30 years, he couldn't complete a full week of work. So he was really looking for something to take that wasn't these pain pills, because the pain pills that he was being prescribed just numbed the pain. They didn't actually help him get better, okay? And then he would find that after taking the pain pills, he'd be in worse shape. So he was talking to his doctor. He was doing physiotherapy to fix his back for whatever the problem was. He was talking to his doctor, trying to get off pain pills. His doctor sent him to us. I talked him through what types of things he needed. Now, because he was in such bad shape, I made sure that he had a topical cream I gave him the same cream I had, the Live Relief, 250 milligram THC and 250 milligram CBD. Then I gave him a package of gummies that in the total package, there was 600 milligrams of CBD, no THC, because obviously he was taking this so that he could work, right? So I give him the cream and I give him the package. The package had, I guess, 30 gummies in the pack. And so that's 20 milligrams per gummy. And he was putting them together. So he would put the cream on, he would take the gummy, he would go to work. I think after about a month, because that amount of stuff, as somebody that's never used it before, is enough for about a month, provided that you use it every day. Okay, you take one of the gummies and then you use the cream throughout the day. So, like, the way I explained it to him was take a gummy in the morning, put the cream on your back. When you get home from work, if you feel like you need another gummy, have one. If you don't, just use the cream. So that's what he was doing. So he comes in a month later. I think it was a month, maybe a month and a half. Instead of grabbing the wall and walking along it and trying to keep himself up and supported, this dude walked right into the shop on his 2 feet, standing straight up, comes right up to me, goes, "Hey man, this is amazing. Like, I can work. Like, I've worked for the last month. The first week, I think he had to take one of the days off. Then the second week, I think he took a half day off. Then by the third week, he was working Monday to Friday, full shifts again. And it was all because he was just using those two products together, along with the physiotherapy that his doctor had, tried to had set him up with, along with the daily, or I mean, whatever his I don't know what his checkups were, but he, along with regular checkups with the doctor to make sure, and he was like, everything that was going wrong got completely better, to the point where eventually I just never saw him again. So for those of you that are worried about whether or not CBD can help you, don't be. It definitely can. The side effects of CBD are not the same and not as great as the side effects of some of the drugs that doctors prescribe. In the States, it's a little worse, I guess, because I think doctors make money off these prescriptions, whereas in Canada, they don't really. Our healthcare is universal, like, it's taken care of by the government. So I think that in Canada, we have a little bit more incentive to send people to a place where things will get better, and not just keep them broken so that we can keep fixing them, because our healthcare system isn't necessarily built on profit. I'm sure some of that happens, but I think for the long run, the idea is to take the pressure off the healthcare system and help people get better for a long period of time. So this guy, he found that a lot of success in pairing gummies with topicals. Now, like I said, I take CBD oil after I work out, because I find that once I work out, if I'm a little bit sore the next day and I don't take CBD, I'm stiff for like 2 days. Whereas if I take CBD, then I'm only kind of stiff for the one day, and even that stiffness is not nearly as tight and limiting as it would have been had I not taken it. As I puff on my Metafarm CBD pen. Again, I use the pen more so because I've quit smoking, and I just find that if I ever do get a craving, instead of having my little, like, flavored vape, I find that this really hits the spot. I take a few of those and my brain goes off to something else, and then I don't think about it anymore. Oh, that's one other thing. Okay, so the final thought on this is essentially this. One of the things to know about CBD is that, like I said, you're not necessarily going to take whatever the product is and feel immediately better, okay? What's going to happen is that as you take the product and you use it over time, you are going to start noticing that there are less times throughout the day where you notice whatever that ailment is. So, for example, if you have a shoulder issue or arthritis in your hands, the first day you'll notice that you'll be paying attention to it, so you'll be like, oh, my arthritis isn't great, I don't know if this is working. Then day 2, it may be like, say your arthritis flares up first thing in the morning, you maybe don't notice it till the afternoon. You're like, oh, I didn't even think about my arthritis this morning. Like, now I notice it. Okay, I better take a gummy. That's how CBD works. It's not that it is like, oh, everything feels good. It's that you start to realize that you don't notice what that ailment was, or what that thing is that is affecting you, what that thing that affects you is doing to you. It's like taking supplements. If you take supplements, you don't necessarily notice that they're working until you stop using supplements, right? That's when you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize it, but now I know that, yeah, I something was happening. So CBD is kind of that way. CBD is very much the longer you use it, the more you use it, the less likely you are to notice it, until finally one day you're just going through the day as if you didn't have any kind of, restrictions. That's how CBD works. So if you're curious about CBD, you want to try it out. Those are the tips that I have. Those are the things that I think you should look for as a cannabis professional. Those are the things that you should look for. Those are the conversations you should have with your bud tender and your doctor about whether or not CBD can help you. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you want to know more about CBD, or you just want somebody that's informed to help you along the path, you can always leave me a comment. You can send me an email at thoughtsoffthestempodcast@gmail.com. You can check out tots420.com, where there are some blogs about CBD, how it works, what it'll do for you. Yeah, I'd say that's probably it. Those are probably my thoughts off the stem for this week. But always make sure that you talk to your doctor before you do anything that has to do with taking any kind of, potential medication, because they need to know that you're doing that, especially if you take more than one medication at a time. You need somebody that can tell you whether or not it's okay to take and pair these things together. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the sesh. Those are my thoughts off the stem for this week. I hope you come back next week with me, Justin Barone, your friendly neighborhood pothead, on Thoughts Off the Stem. Please subscribe, like, share, leave a comment. Like I said, if you have any more questions or you want to know something about CBD, let me know. I will answer every comment I get. Hopefully I get some comments. Until next time, keep your lids low, baby. Very weedy, just so you know. CBD tastes very weedy. There's very few, like,